The rain was coming down just enough to make the pavement shimmer, and I remember thinking, man, even the sky looks heavy today as I stepped out of the grocery store, hands full, heart even heavier. Grief is a strange thing, it kind of settles in your bones, and after my wife passed, I felt like the whole world just kept moving forward, but I got stuck somewhere no one could see, drifting, going through the motions. I was halfway to my car, lost in that fog, when I heard this tiny, shaky voice so soft, I almost missed it, and I turned to see a little girl, 6 at most, standing in the drizzle with a raincoat hanging off her shoulders, shoes soaked through, clutching this raggedy old doll like it was the last good thing in the world. Her eyes were huge, shining with tears. She was fighting so hard not to let fall. And then, dead serious, she looks up at me and says, "Please marry my mother, mister. She's all I've got left." Yeah, that happened. I just stood there, stunned, trying to process what she'd said honestly. Who expects that? First, I wanted to laugh, then I nearly cried because that little voice wasn't just desperate. It was brave in a way adults rarely are. She wasn't even asking for herself. Not really. You could feel it was carrying loss way too big for her little shoulders. So I knelt down, suddenly terrified I'd say the wrong thing, and all I could do was look in her eyes and realize, damn, I know the kind of loneliness. Maybe that's why I didn't walk away. Maybe that's why something inside me cracked open, just a bit. She took my hand, like it was the most natural thing, and led me no words, just that determined kid energy through winding streets, past houses that had seen better days, until we reached this trailer park on the edge of town. Rain was letting up, but everything was still gray and quiet, except for the sound of her little boots on the wooden steps. The trailer door creaked open, and there stood her mother, Rachel. Tired but graceful, a woman with a face that told stories even when her mouth stayed shut. She blinked, clearly surprised to see me, and her first words, half a laugh, half an apology, were, "She's always saying wild things. I hope she didn't bother you." It was awkward, but kind in that way people are when they've been through too much. Rachel knelt and scolded her daughter, but it wasn't real anger, just a tired, gentle warning that told me she was used to doing everything herself. She said softly, "My daughter, she lost her father last year. Cancer." She looked away, fiddling with her apron. I never told her how lonely I feel, but somehow she knew. Her voice wasn't bitter, just tired, like someone running a race they never signed up for. I saw something in Rachel that day, not just a struggling mom or a widow, but someone tough as nails, holding it together because there was no other choice. And I guess, somewhere in all that, I saw the kind of strength I wished I still had. The first time I saw her at the diner, she was behind the counter, pouring coffee like it was a sacred ritual. That place was nothing fancy, wedged between a gas station and a thrift shop, but somehow it became my new home base. At first, I told myself it was for the coffee, or because the place was quiet. But the truth? It was Rachel's tired, honest smile, and the way her daughter's whole face would light up when I walked through the door. Little by little, I started bringing things: crayons, a storybook, a doll dress, small things, nothing dramatic. I fixed the trailer's squeaky hinge, carried groceries, just try to help. I wasn't trying to be a hero. I just wanted to give them the little I had left to give. We started sharing laughs, the real kind, the kind you get only after sorrows sat at your table for a while, like sunlight breaking through after a week of storms. The little girl would draw me pictures. One time, she slid a crayon drawing onto my plate. 3 stick figures under a rainbow, holding hands, all smiling. One was me, one Rachel, one her, and she'd covered the whole thing in hearts and sunshine. I swear, I nearly lost it right there in the diner. I looked up, and Rachel was wiping glasses at the counter, not even knowing her kid just rewrote my whole definition of family. For a long while, I thought, maybe this is it. Maybe this is how healing works, slowly, quietly, over coffee and crayon drawings. But life, it likes to test you, just to see if you're really awake. One Tuesday, Rachel finished her shift, stepped out onto the sidewalk, and just collapsed. Right there, no warning. It was chaos. The ambulance came. I found myself in the hospital waiting room. The little girl curled against me, her tiny fingers clutching my shirt like she was holding the whole world together. The doctor's words were soft, but they landed hard. She's going to be okay, but her body's worn down malnutrition, stress, exhaustion. Rachel had been carrying too much for too long and never once asked for help. That night, sitting beside her bed, watching machines blink and beep, I took her hand and said, I thought I was too broken to love again, but you showed me what family means. Not blood, not perfection, just love. Quiet, steady love. She stirred, just a bit, her fingers curled around mine, and in that moment, I knew we weren't three broken people anymore. We were becoming something whole, something new. Spring finally showed up, soft and hopeful, and I found myself in the park with them birds singing, sunlight painting everything gold, laughter ringing out as the little girl danced, tossing flower petals in the air. Rachel stood by, glowing in a simple white dress, cheeks pink, eyes alive again. And right then I knelt down, oh crowd, no music, just us and the breeze, and I pulled out a simple ring. I said, You've given me more than I thought I'd ever have again, not just love, but a reason to believe in it. Rachel's eyes filled with tears, and she nodded, and the little girl squealed and threw her arms around both of us. It wasn't some grand movie wedding, just a family, finally finding each other under the open sky. Because love, as that brave little girl already knew, isn't about timing or perfection. It's about courage, the courage to hope, to reach out, to try again, even when the world has broken your heart before. So, here's the real question, and I want you to think about it when you see someone hurting, when you hear a wild request from a child who's lost too much. Do you walk away, or do you kneel down and listen? Is family something we're born into, or something we choose again and again? I'm curious, what would you have done? Drop your thoughts below, because maybe, just maybe, somebody out there needs to hear that happy endings don't have to be perfect to be real.